Welcome to the OhioRAAM Show.
Well, hello everybody. This is Jim Lawyer here with the OhioRAAM Show, the show about ultracycling and all other things cycling. Hey, Lee.
Hey, Jim, and I just want to point out that my little dog Riley is back there in his spot watching over us to make sure everything goes right. That's
awesome.
That's his place. So it seems like every time we go on the air, that's where he's at. Well, we just want to say that this show comes to you because of the wonderful people who operate our time stations here in Ohio, the Race Across America time stations. 41 in Oxford, Ohio, 42 in Blanchester, 43 in Chillicothe, where Jim holds out. And from Jim's time station, you can look east, and it's a good place to stop and catch your breath because you can see the hills of eastern Ohio right from your time station, can't you, Jim?
Yes, you can.
Look out there, and there it is. Jim is having some
camera issues tonight.
Camera issues today. With all that wiring there, I think he's got his wires crossed somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, hi, Mrs. Team Skydog.
And we've got Mr. Skydog in here also.
Mr. Skydog's here, and anybody else, please check in with us.
And of course, the voice.
Hey,
the voice of OhioRAAM.
Yeah, you hear Greg when we start and hear Greg when we stop. He's the first and the last, Jim.
Definitely.
Of each show.
He gets us going and takes us out.
Yep. But just we can keep him awake long enough till we get there.
There you go.
Okay, Jim. We got some news.
Definitely. We'll do the RAM update first. On our entries for 2022 RAM, 2-person stayed the same at 5, 4-person stayed the same at 10, one new 8-person team, and a couple of solos. So we're doing great for the race next year. In news, we've got some very sad news, Lee. I think you know about it also.
Yes.
Dr. Amrita Ramjan was killed in a cycling accident while attempting a WUCA record attempt with her husband and teammate. We hate to hear this. Very sad. I know that they were obeying all the laws and everything else, and they were very safe on the roads, and it was just one of those terrible accidents.
Yes. And, Indian ultracycling has been growing by leaps and bounds, and they were a part of that. I didn't know them at all, but
no, neither did I.
I had never been in contact with them, but I know people who had. So
yes. But our thoughts and prayers go out to their families and friends. As far as other news, we're still pushing for the virtual 3 and 6 hour time trial virtual January 8th, 2022. Sign up and enjoy the ride with us.
Okay.
And another shameless plug, still covering the Moonriders Tour for V-Cycling News. The next one is Stage 4 at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join, or actually go ahead and log in and ride it with us. Very, very good riders and strong racing.
Okay.
Trivia. Last week we asked who is known as the voice of RAM. It's George Spiggy Thomas. So if you got that right, good job. Our question for tonight is, who is the first woman to win overall? Post your answers in the comments, ORSTA 1121, and you can do that even if you're watching on a rerun.
Yep. Okay.
And I think that's all of our news tonight, Lee.
Well, out of shameless commerce, put that link up there, show people how to follow and subscribe.
Definitely. Let me find it.
It's up. I see it.
Why don't you bring it up? I can't find it.
Jim
Right
can't
there it
find it.
was. Right
Yeah,
there in front of my face.
Yeah, you people can really help us by making sure that you follow us on Facebook, on our Ohio Ram Show page, and on YouTube. Click that subscribe button. Uh, the
Definitely.
more that is done, the more we people will see us. And of course, the only point for that is that more people find out about ultra cycling. We don't much care whether we're seen or not, do we, Jim?
No, not at all. That's why you're seeing a side shot of me tonight.
Yeah, well, maybe I ought to show I ought to show Riley here rather than myself if we're going to be that way today. But
Oh, no.
okay, we've got a show on that we've had this group on. I thought it was more than what it was, but at least twice before because I have kind of a personal interest in this issue. But Team Rams. Team Rotary RAAMs Polio. I got to get that right. And, I'm going to bring on the Mackenzies first before we bring on the writer. Hi,
Okay.
Bob and Darlene McKenzie. How are you? Where are you located at?
We are in Manassas, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Very good. And let's get Kurt Matzler here somewhere in Austria, I believe.
It's Innsbruck, Austria. Hi, Lee. Hi, Jim.
Oh.
Hi, Doreen.
Hello. Glad to have you here.
That makes me want to get my skis waxed up and come see you, Kurt.
There you
I
go.
have already been skiing this year, twice.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Well, that was then for me, not now, but I did enjoy it while I could. Listen,
Definitely.
Jim, you want to talk to Kurt about his team and
Yeah, definitely.
About
Kurt, I guess we'll begin with what got you into cycling, what made you an ultra cyclist, etc. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I started cycling about 25 years ago. It was a friend of mine who brought me into cycling, and I started with him. I trained a little bit, and then he convinced me to do a little race in Norway. It's called the Great Trial of Strength, and that was my first race, 350 miles race. That was my first ultra cycling experience and my first race overall. And then I really felt in love with cycling. I did some hard races here in Austria. We have the famous Ötztal Radmarathon, which is a very long and ride here and very steep and a lot of climbing. And in 2016, somebody put me in contact with Bob McKenzie, who founded the team Rotary RAAMs Polio. They were looking for a fourth racer, and so we got in contact, and so I was on the team. And so that was my first RAM experience in a team of 4. And then we have done RAM 4 times, and now I'm trying to do it solo.
Outstanding. Do you have any other big plans besides RAM 2022 coming up in the near future?
No, RAM 2022 is my focus. I wanted to do it this year, but we could not enter the United States because of Corona. And so instead I did race around Austria again. I did race around Austria last year also. Hard qualifier. And for me, race around Austria was the test. And I thought if I can do race around Austria, I could also do RAM. And statistics says if you finish race around Austria, there is also almost a 100% chance of finishing RAM as well. So RAM is my
Great. Awesome. How are you training during this kind of lull in COVID, or I don't know if over in your area it's resurging? How are you training, indoors, outdoors, or both?
At the moment, indoors, mostly indoors. Today, the weather was unusually good, unusually warm, so I could go mountain biking. But usually here in Austria, from the middle of November until March, there is no outside riding. So I do a lot of indoor cycling and cross-country skiing, and we call it ski touring, which is you climb the mountains with your skis on, and then you go downhill, and that is a very good training. So that's my training in winter.
Wow. Lee, do you have any beginning questions for Kurt?
Well, I just was going to. He mentioned about climbing the mountain on his skis. I gave up cross country a long time before I gave up downhill. I have to say that. That is one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life, Kurt. Cross country skiing.
It's excellent training also for cycling. So in winter it's just perfect. It's easy to do. It's not very time consuming, and it's very hard training actually.
Mm-hmm.
Or it
Well,
can
Very
be.
good for the cardio. Yes.
Yeah, I admire all that climbing. I I migrated to the ski lift, and that got to be too easy.
There you go.
Oh yeah, well let's get kind of semi-serious here. Well, I want to get right on to the whole thing that we really want to talk about. And that's the whole issue of polio. Before we went on the air, I was mentioning how this really is something that resonates in my soul, sort of, because I was a preteen and teenager during the 40s and 50s when polio just dominated our lives. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of that, but you've been on a campaign to eliminate polio from the face of the earth. Tell us about that, how that's going, and what your team is doing about it.
We are Rotarians, and Rotary in 1985 started with its biggest project. The idea was to eradicate polio. Back in 1985, we had about 350,000 new polio cases every year in 125 countries. So Rotary started together with the World Health Organization and some other partners with its project, and has raised a lot of money, more than $1 billion so far, and could vaccinate about 2.5 billion children. And this has been a very successful project because we are down to a handful of cases now every year. But it's still a lot of work. We have seen it also with COVID. If you are not disciplined with vaccinations, we see what happens. We have the next wave here in Austria. So it's still a lot of work to do. And it was Bob McKenzie and Darlene who started Rotary RAAMs Polio with the idea of combining Race Across America with a Race Across Polio.
Okay, well, Bob, you've been a part of this effort to bring a team into the Race Across America to do this job. Tell us how many times you've done it, and what the results has been.
Well, like Kurt said, our first year was 2016. We started putting together the team in 2015, and we're adding riders and adding crew members and trying to figure out what we were doing because we didn't have a clue. And anyway, someone with Cycling to Serve, which is a Rotary entity, asked me if I would take a European racer, and I said, well, absolutely. And so we interviewed a few, and then we landed on Kurt, which we were real happy about. And Kurt's been a real catalyst in keeping us going, and we've been real happy to have him as part of the team. I actually started riding in 2011, um, because there are Rotarians that go out to Tucson, Arizona every year, and they ride in El Tour de Tucson and raise money for polio. And after doing that for several years, I tried to branch out, and that's when we got a team involved in Race Across America. So, but I've only been riding a bike about 10 years. And I started when I was 59 and a half. So I'm the old guy on the team. And Darlene has been she's been our logistics person from day one. And she crew chief for 2 or 3 years. But she still does all the logistics, booking all the hotels and everything as we go across the country. And we probably couldn't do it without her. So.
Well, you've been quite successful. I know what your goal. We'll talk that about. Tell me how much money you've raised for this program, Bob. And when you hear this number, you will be astounded.
Well, our first year we raised 300,000. Like I said, everything was so new to us, and we really struggled trying to raise money to support the team and raise money for polio. We didn't know what we were doing. And then we went back in 17 and we raised 550,000. And then in 18 we raised over $1 million, and in 19 we raised $1,250,000. And then in the 2 years that we've not raced, because one, there was no RAM, and then last year we couldn't get our Austrian teammates here, we probably raised another $1 million in those 2 years. So we were over $4 million.
Outstanding.
And, you know, that's a drop in the bucket. I know it's a lot of money, but it's a drop in the bucket when you consider that we have to immunize the world every year and use over 500 million doses of polio vaccine. So it's just a lot of efforts like that. And there are a lot of other Rotarians around the world that are making efforts to raise money, you know, with pancake breakfasts or whatever. And so this is our little contribution to Race Across America.
Well, that is remarkable. That makes you one of the highest, if not the highest, teams for fundraising. You've been on the show before. We've been impressed with what you're doing. Guys, you told me last week in an email what the count is in polio so far this year. What is it?
Are you asking me? It's 4 right now. We had 2 cases last week.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So we had 2 cases. We had 2 cases from January all the way to last week. We had one in Afghanistan and one in Pakistan. And this last week we had 2 more in Afghanistan. So it's still the lowest year we've ever had, but you know, the fight's not over.
No, and it has to go on for a little while after there's no cases, doesn't it?
Yeah, a country has to be without a case for 3 years before they become non-endemic. And right now, we only have 2 countries in the world that are still endemic, and that is Pakistan and Afghanistan.
And
we took Nigeria off 2 years ago. And so, like Kurt told you when we started the program, there were 125 countries in 1985, and we're down to 2.
Outstanding.
wow, yeah. And those are the hardest places on earth to really get it taken care of, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been difficult, but we're starting to get some help there. We just had an agreement. You know, the World Health Organization and all had an agreement with the Taliban to let immunization go forward in Afghanistan. So that's a huge win. That's a huge win.
Yeah, I saw
Very
that
good
news,
news.
and I think everybody was concerned. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about Afghanistan, but one of the things that popped up in my mind right away is how the immunization program will continue, and I think that's good news that can continue to happen.
Definitely.
And we've had workers lose their lives doing this job, haven't they?
Yes, they really have. There's probably 350,000 workers out there every year that are administering vaccines, and they're not necessarily Rotarians, but some of them have been killed in times past. A couple of 3 years ago in January, we had 12 killed. So
Yeah, I remember that.
it's really sad, but you just have to keep going and try to convince people what you're doing is not espionage or trying to kill them or anything, just trying to help them.
Well, as I said, I remember polio so well. I got to show you a picture here. For people who don't know, this is what it was like.
Yeah.
That is iron lungs. Those are children, babies. And they had to live, and that's the only way they could breathe because their lungs had been affected.
Right.
And that's what frightened everybody. That's what frightened my parents. And we've forgotten about that. But, I want to show you another picture. Polio hasn't gone away, really. This is my friend John. That's him on the left. There's the old guy on the right. When he was a lot younger, thinner, and not so gray, I was on one of my long distance tours. I spent the night with John. Had polio when he was 14 years old in 1945, lived with it for 70 years. This was taken in 1996, I believe. By this time, Bob, he already was suffering from what's known as post-polio syndrome.
Yes.
These people had their muscles retrained to use them for different purposes. And consequently, with time, those muscles, they were being used for purposes they weren't intended. They just began to fail. And at this point, John was no longer able to walk with his sticks and braces. He got about with this trike. And we lost him here a few years ago. He was a dear, dear friend, a mentor of mine. And I still miss John Wagner.
I don't know if I've told you, but I've spoken to Rotary clubs all over the United States and a lot of different places, and I hardly ever speak to a club that someone in that club doesn't come up to me and tell me about somebody they know or knew that had polio.
Yeah, and hopefully the time's coming when you won't hear that anymore, but that may be a little bit. Well, Kurt, how much money are you going to raise this year?
Say it again, sorry, Lee.
How much money do you intend to raise this year?
1 million is the objective again.
Wow, awesome.
Whereby the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations matches our donations. We raise 2-1, so they are of great help. They support the project.
Jim, find and put up our URL to the website there, will you?
Definitely, I will do that.
On our show notes for this show, you will see links there where not only to the team and their Facebook page, but a place they have set aside that you can donate to this team for that awesome goal of $1 million. And, I've watched you for a while. I know you will make it, but I think a lot of people would like to have a part of that. Yeah, that was kind of blanking out Bob and Darby's face there.
I got to work on that one.
But yeah, it's life in live streaming. But OhioRAAMshow.com, go there and you can see there. While you're there, if you haven't, go down a little bit further. We talk about being shameless, Jim. Let's just keep right on being. There's a
Okay.
place you can click and subscribe to the show on YouTube, and we would like to boost that subscription a little bit there while you're there.
Hey, Lee,
Yeah.
I do want to say that every dollar that's given to Rotary International for polio, every cent of that dollar goes to polio. We don't take any admin fees out. We don't. Polio is one of the Rotary is one of the highest rated charities in the world because we don't pay admin fees or anything out of the money that's given for polio. Members of Rotary pay dues, and those dues pay all of our overhead expenses. So if you give $1 for polio, that whole dollar is going to go help some child.
Outstanding.
Well, BJ Amberg there, tell us where you're from, BJ. We'd like to know that. Glad to have you with us. Yeah. Well, this is a great program, and like I said, it resonates with me. People think, polio's gone, but it didn't, and we're going to knock it out, guys. We're looking forward to that.
Lord willing.
Lord willing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you guys come through all of the Ohio RAM time stations this year.
Yeah. Stop there and see.
Stop there and see the ones in the car, and Kurt will be the one on the bike.
Definitely. He's from
Ely,
Eli.
Nevada.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have Nevada here.
Definitely.
And if anybody else hasn't checked in, do it really, really quick because we're going to give away a OhioRAAM show T-shirt here pretty soon.
Definitely.
I don't know why.
Be one of the few and the proud to have one.
In a weak moment, I agreed to that again, but it just seemed like the thing to do, Jim.
Definitely, I agree.
Well, you agree. It isn't going to cost you anything.
Take it out of my salary, Lee.
Okay, I'll take that out of your salary. But I can't. If I keep cutting his pay, it ain't going to be possible, is it?
There you go. Exactly.
Hey, Jim, have you got your machines working there that you can do a drawing?
I believe so. Let me get it all set up here.
Okay, let's see if we can't give away a T-shirt.
All right. It looks like we're pretty stable on the number of entries, so we'll go ahead and give it a draw.
Fly. Bring that. You always think you've won, and then you find out you haven't. It's really a kind of sneaky thing here.
Mrs. Skydog!
Skydog,
congratulations!
At last!
Yes!
I am so glad. The Skydogs are probably our most faithful viewers we have.
Definitely. Glad that they won.
And they just never seem to win anything. I was worried that they were thinking that we had it rigged against them, Jim.
Definitely. And again, I think we have your info, but send your info to winner@ohioramshow.live.
Yeah, get that address.
Congratulations.
And we'll get that off to you. It'll be interesting. I wonder, maybe that company has an office and a website in Denmark as well. That'll make it quicker and
Definitely
easier all the way around. I know they do in the Netherlands.
easy for you to say.
No, it wasn't. Oh, listen, we wish you guys the best. And we hope that you raise a whole bunch of dough, maybe more than $1 million. Get this problem with polio licked.
Definitely, and we appreciate you guys being here for sure. And again, we can't wait to see you guys come through on your way to the big finish through Ohio.
Don't go away. We'll chat a little bit here as soon as
Yep.
we...
And Lee, before we go, let's talk about next week's show.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that. You got to remind me of that next week. Jim and I are going to take vacation. Get that turkey out.
I know.
There's enough turkeys on this show
That's
without
not true.
that coming in here.
There's two of us at least.
Two turkeys here.
Yep.
Jim and I are going to be recovering from eating too much food over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, which is next week here in the United States. It's one of those 4-day weekends that you people in Europe are used to, but pretty rare here. And all we do is eat all weekend and watch football. So we decided we were going to put the robot that StreamYard has to work to run a previous show. And we picked out as a best of show Valerie Lutzlersky and Christy Tracy, who were winners in the 2020 Texas time trials. They both won the 24-hour, and the other the 500-mile. I think I remember which is which, but I get them mixed up. Great show, great fun, wasn't it, Jim?
Definitely. One of my favorites.
We had
Of course, they all are.
So if you're in Europe or here in the United States and can't stand football, or if you're one of those people who just can't stand to go another week,
Without the OhioRAAM show.
The OhioRAAM show, yeah. There will be one here for you.
Definitely. All right.
Bob, Darlene, thanks for being with us.
Kurt, thank you.
Here in Austria, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And we're going to try to wake Gregory up if he hasn't gone to sleep here and see if he can't get us out of here safely. Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.
This is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.